What's going on, everyone? Hope you're all having a wonderful weekend. We're talking something that has been continuously popping up in every single discussion about any spoiler from set, all the way back from set 2, but also with set 3, and I'm going to assume that it's going to continue with any future set. And it's something that I am calling the Boba Problem. I don't even know if that's necessarily the right description. I know a lot of people would consider it a problem, but that's what we're here to talk about, and what we're here to kind of explain. What is the Boba Problem? What are we talking about in the comment section? Why do we care about new spoilers? Why are you even making this video? Well, yesterday I talked about all the new spoilers, and one of those cards was a brand new cunning card, and this sparked a massive wave of people basically saying, oh boy, another extremely powerful cunning card. Arguably, at least in my opinion, one of the strongest cards from set 3 that's just going to slot in Boba Cunning, and it's going to be really, really excellent. Seemingly, right? Not guaranteed, of course, but a card that just makes sense for the archetype. So what is the Boba Problem? Is it even a problem? That's what we got to first talk about. What I mean when I say the Boba Problem is every single time a new card, a new spoiler, a new set comes out, the first thing that everyone looks at are really two leaders, but I'm also going to include a third leader in that category. And that is Boba Yellow, well, the OG Boba, like cunning, villainy Boba, Sabine Wren, and New Han. Every single card that we look at, not only because these are some of the strongest decks just in the meta and have been since set 1, at least in terms of Sabine and Boba Fett's case, but also because of how universally powerful their abilities are. There are going to be some cards that we talk about when we talk about spoilers that are like, oh, it's got 3 or less power and it works really well with damage. It's probably good with Grand Inquisitor. Or, hey, I think that because it revolves around having low hand size, Kylo Ren could be good. Or hey, maybe because it's got 2 or less power, it could work with Rey. There are obviously specific circumstances where all that is considered, but every single time, especially so when you look at a card from their respective aspects, cunning, aggression, in New Han and Sabine's case, you're looking at a card like, is that card going to be good in Han? Is it going to be good in Sabine? Or is it going to be good in Boba Fett? And that's mainly because OG Boba is the de facto leader for tempo/aggro decks. I would say more of a tempo deck. Any deck that's looking to disrupt your opponent while also putting on pressure. That's where Boba Fett slides in. Sabine Wren is the de facto aggro leader. Any card that looks like they're going to want to attack your opponents and just ignore their units. That is where Sabine's like, maybe I can take advantage of this card. Why? For Sabine's case, she deploys early. She has a guaranteed damaging ability. This is just some of the strongest things that aggro's looking for. And in New Han's case, he is the de facto mid-range leader. And so this is a card that really just is able to play any card in the entirety of the game, assuming it falls under the aspects that your deck's looking to play. But because you can play a secondary aspect on your base, it's basically any aggression, villainy, or a vigilance, cunning, or command card that is also in heroism as well as just non-affiliated. Every single one of those cards is like, maybe I could play it in New Han because I'm just trying to play the best cards every single turn. And these 3 are what I consider to be the Boba Problem. Now, I'm naming it the Boba Problem because Boba Fett is the most prominent of the 3 and the one that's talked about the most. But where I put the problem tag, or why I considered it the problem, is mainly because of how the community responds to all of these cards. A lot of people are sick of seeing Boba Fett, Sabine Wren, and New Han at the top of the meta. New Han, a little bit less so, considering he is from set 2, which is also something that we got to discuss in terms of whether it is a problem or not. But these are such powerful leaders, and partially because set 1 was designed in a way to where leaders going forward hopefully will be able to work with more cards so that we have more of a card pool to work with from set 1, so people don't have to replace their cards, and we actually have a functional Star Wars Unlimited game. But that doesn't dismiss the fact that when someone plays Sabine or someone plays Boba, the vast majority of players will go ahead and groan, because those are just the leaders that we're playing, because they are just so powerful. That also means that every single card that we see from future sets is ran through those cards. Okay, you see, now there are 2 of them. A card that was revealed yesterday, a 3-cost cutting event. Oh my gosh, you can get a 2-cost reduction on a card. It's kind of for free, not really. But if you play your standard Boba Yellow deck, literally if you just play Boba Yellow and you play your normal cards like Bazine on turn 1, you are able to play Zuckuss on turn 2 with now there are 2 of them, right? Just, again, if you literally just don't even take any other cards or build a deck around this card, if you just slot this into Boba Yellow, you are going to potentially have some insane turn 1, turn 2 plays, okay? This card immediately had a massive groan because people are like, oh, of course, it's going to just slot into Boba Yellow. Now, the reason why people are so irritated potentially with this, and of course, this is just kind of my understanding of where people are coming from, is there are really multiple reasons. One, every single kind of new card gets less exciting because of, some set 3 synergies that are hopefully potentially good, but because set 1 leaders are so powerful, it's unlikely that these set 3 cards are going to be able to showcase why they were designed in the first place with their exploit and coordinate synergies. 2, the leaders that we're seeing are not really changing, so potentially a repeat of what you're seeing over and over again. And then 3, and arguably the one that people are just kind of, I guess you'd say, the most annoyed with, and that is, because they are meta, any card that is showcased in the future is going to arguably push that meta even harder for those archetypes, because they can just incorporate any card, which pushes some of the decks that people want to play even further down. Now, here's the question, okay? And I said this earlier, but these are the things that people are considering oftentimes. And there might be more things that I'm not talking about. Maybe you disagree with this. That's totally fine. Is it even a problem? And this is where I introduce, I guess you could say, some of the countering to whether or not these leaders will be a problem going forward. Because New Han is included in this discussion, but he's a set 2 leader, right? So it's not just set 1 leaders and, oh my gosh, set 2 came out and we don't have any new leaders that are top of the meta. There, yes, is a lot from set 1. Heck, Boba Yellow, Sabine Green, those are the most talked about decks, but you also have like Han Yellow, Double Green, Palpatine. From set 2, there are a lot fewer. Mainly people consider New Han Blue and Kira Green as the 2 options from set 2. But there are options from set 2, which leads me to believe that from set 3, there might be another 1 to 2 leaders that are pretty good. I could see Ahsoka Tano being a 5-power, 5-resource flip leader, being a very strong aggro contender, especially considering they have a lot of synergy with the set 3 tags. Maul, as someone who deploys as a 6-flip, 6-powered leader, could potentially just give you a lot of damage into your opponent's base, as well as giving Overwhelm could potentially be a strong enough leader. And these are leaders that are arguably a little bit more universal, similar to Boba, right? If you consider things like Padme, who requires Republic cards, Count Dooku, who requires Separatist cards. These are going to kind of be in line with some of the other options that we've had from set 1 and set 2 that aren't probably going to get a lot better with future sets, because they are kind of relegated to their set mechanics. Unlike Sabine, Boba, Han, these cards, or these leaders, aren't really looking at the new sets and like, what am I going to get? Because they specifically reference something from their set. Okay. So that's where, okay, yes, set 1 has more leaders that are in meta right now, but set 2 is introducing more leaders that are cards that are extremely powerful. Heck, you could even include Bosk in that discussion. So the question is, and again, I keep saying that, while there are a lot of leaders from set 1 and cards that are pretty powerful from set 1, and there's a disproportionate amount of set 1 cards that are stronger, again, partially because they needed to make Star Wars Unlimited work, and having your set 1 being kind of underpowered isn't really the way to go about doing that. Is this something that's going to continue going forward? And is it really something that FFG has to kind of address, or people want FFG to address at all? And of course, there is all sorts of discussions that people consider, like, gotta nerf Boba, gotta nerf Sabine, gotta do this, whatever. I don't know if it's that big of an issue yet. Of course, one of the things that I've consistently said with set 3 is that a lot of their cards and a lot of the mechanics are so specific towards having a specific plan in terms of going wide, generating fodder for both coordinate and exploit. Like, both mechanics are kind of the same in that they want a bunch of bodies on the battlefield. And of course, it's thematic because it's the Clone Wars and such. But I think that doesn't really mesh well with Star Wars Unlimited in terms of how the action economy works in general. But also, I think that the set 1 leaders that we have talked about, as well as New Han, are going to be potentially trouncing them. So we'll see. However, one thing with set 3 is that I'm really hoping that we're going to see some really powerful cards. And honestly, a card like Now There Are Two of Them is what I want to see. Even though it may be played in Boba Yellow, I just want to see a lot of the cards be played in general from set 3 at all. I don't really necessarily care if you're able to play, okay, I need to play a clone token deck, or I need to play a battle droid exploit deck. Well, those are interesting themes. Just seeing the cards show up is good enough. Because if you look back and you look at basically any other card game, there isn't like, oh, set 3 introduced a whole new deck and that's what people are playing now, or a new set introduced a whole new deck. It's really a new set introduces a few cards that the old decks incorporate, and then in some cases, a new deck pops up from the future set. So in terms of how other card games are incorporating sets and introducing new cards, Star Wars Unlimited seems to be following that pattern. Again, if you consider like New Han, boom, brand new leader, spawned a new archetype, or at least a new leader behind an archetype that was relatively established, and we get to see a bunch of new cards, right? It's not like set 1 is absolutely blowing set 2 out of the water. There's still like a 70-30 split in terms of, well, sometimes like 65-35 or 60-40 split in terms of cards played. And that is honestly pretty reasonable. So even though people consider set 2 as pretty bad, like set 2 is not that enjoyable, set 3 might actually just not have as many cards being played. But because the thematic is more of what people want, as soon as we get just a couple cards into the fray, I think people are going to be pretty excited. Even though I know some of the cards might make you groan because you're like, oh, Boba Fett is still here. But let me know what you think. Do you find set 3 pretty exciting? Would you be okay if the exploit and coordinate styles of decks didn't take off? Or is that something that you're really hoping for in set 3? I guess hoping for is the wrong word, because I am also hoping that exploit and coordinate is actually strong enough to be able to be used. But is that a must-have for you in set 3 as to something that you might want to enjoy with Star Wars Unlimited? Or is having a few cards from set 3 incorporated into your decks that you've already established actually a good thing? And that's what you want, because you don't want to buy a whole new deck. You don't want to look for all the new cards. You just want to play your established deck and slot in a couple new cards. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And who knows what we're doing going forward. Who knows how the rotation is going to work, if there is going to be a rotation in Premiere, and whether or not FFG is going to kind of change the format limitations or whatnot. Who knows, right? There could be all sorts of things to look forward to. It's very early into Star Wars Unlimited, and no matter what, I'll be here making videos, and I am pretty excited regardless. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you all for the next one.